do is we connect the unconnected sustainably. So the problem is 50% of the global population, particularly low and middle income countries, do not have access to the internet. That's about 3.5 billion people with one or two smartphones each. The issue is that even though they have smartphones, they don't have connectivity where they live. And with all that's been happening with the pandemic, so much of life is moving online, such as education, finance, and others. It has never been more obvious that everyone has a need to be connected. But without internet, they are often cut off from families, information, and opportunities. On the other hand, even though telcos have available lines in these areas, the issue is that they do not want to do that last mile because it's not profitable for them. And if they do their typical monthly subscription model in these communities. So how do these people from these communities do it now? They make do with poor signal and bad internet, or they go out of their houses to find connectivity, like computer shops and the likes. But all of this will be proven to be more costly, unreliable, and unsafe. So that is why we created BioFi or BioWiFi. What we do is we provide community Wi-Fi in these low-income communities and solve three key things: connectivity, poverty, and environment. Connectivity because we're giving them access to connection which they can use for education or whatever there is that they need to do online. Poverty because having internet connectivity gives them access to opportunities that we all have in terms of jobs, financing, and many others. And lastly, we are also able to impact the environment through programs that we run with brands. Such is the case with our plastic waste exchange program, where we exchange plastic sachets of the brands into free Wi-Fi. And we can think of more ways and align other issues that the community faces together by using Wi-Fi as an unlimited way of rewarding. So how it works is simple. We incentivize telcos and other companies to provide proper internet connectivity in these communities that they don't normally look at or serve. We do this by providing them the monetization platform that we do and enable them to profit fairly from the connections that they already have, thereby uh, allowing us all together to provide internet access in low-income communities in a cheaper, if not free manner. So our team, we are comprised of a carefully balanced team, half business and operations and half technical, and each one of us have our own experience that enables us to do what we do effectively. For the 100 days plan progress update. So for item one, scoping of ISVs and telco. So in the past, we are working closely already. In the past weeks, we have been working closely with different ISVs and telcos in the country to create programs together. So the discussions are more on an advanced level now as we've started to discuss matters on technical integrations, data privacy, and other details. For the second item, there's an interesting progress with one of our partners, PMI, or Philip Morris. We have just finished a program with them where they wanted to build awareness of their brand and also incentivize consumers with free Wi-Fi upon every purchase of their product. So this study has evolved now, and we are now moving to phase two, where they wanted to combine our product to another program that they have that needed access to the internet. So we are currently in process of doing some technical scoping there as well. For the third item, so we are still on pending as we are sorting out our most critical component of our business, which is the network. For the fourth item, so we've identified target sites already. So Asian Vision, we have 150 sites across Zambales, Quezon, Batangas. With PLDT, this gives us a nationwide footprint from Luzon to Mindanao. So if we get the networks to work with us, then the footprint covers the communities instantly. So we still need time to study of the rollout plans as to from which of these sites we would really go first. And lastly, for item five, so we've completed it already. We found a way where we can support any routers by simply putting a gateway on top. So we've tested it and we've already put it in production already. So for the ask, So we've been asked by the biggest fiber internet provider in the Philippines called Converge. So the goal is to create a prepaid Wi-Fi model with them that we can sell to communities where they can sell the internet in a cheaper chunk. That way, we are also giving them access to internet and livelihood to certain people who are franchising the Wi-Fi prepaid. How it works is we're putting routers inside people's homes and people can buy voucher from the franchise. And that's how they earn money. We sell at a discount and they can distribute to their neighbors. So we are still looking for that partner. We've had a lot of discussions already with some potentials, but nothing is has been so positive about it. So we're still on the lookout for any leads that might be helpful to be on the ground. As for the gift, so we can go hand in hand with technological solutions that require internet access. So we can help rally up your providers in your country or here in the country by giving them a monetization platform so the people there can have access to the internet and to your solutions.
All right. Thank you so much, Annabelle. Any questions, asks, or gives from the group? Are there no asks, gives? Annabelle, if you could also just write in your email in the chat box so that anyone can connect with you after today's learning lab or can, have these conversations one on one after.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Annabelle. Okay, I think next up we have Kubo. So if Zara is on the call, you can start sharing your screen for your presentation.
Hi everyone. So good morning. We're on site or going to site, so excuse my um, haggardness. But I'll be presenting really quickly some progress and updates from CUBO. Let me share my screen. All right. So there you go. So can everyone see me and my presentation? All right. So
All good.
hi everyone. Good morning. So who are we? We're basically modular housing company, right? So we use our main materials engineered bamboo. Why was there a need for this? Current construction methods are slow to keep up with our housing demands. So in the Philippines, we need 1.2 million affordable homes. But with our local production capacity of our local contractors and our local builders, we can only produce 200,000 units in a year. So there becomes a deficit in the production capacity for affordable housing. Now, the challenge is not simply to find a way to build more houses fast, but to do it without causing further damage to the environment. So here's some major materials, right, that is being used widely in the construction industry, especially here in the local scene, like cement, iron, steel, polystyrene. And this is just exhibiting the tons of CO2 that these types of materials emit, right, um, per ton produced. So we tried to find a solution that kind of addresses both. So with our patent pending CUBO modular system, we designed it for manufacturing. So we produce our houses off-site, of course, to control quality, to give our workers a better environment, better living condition, working condition. We also designed it for delivery. So here in the Philippines, we have 7,000 plus islands, and we have to make it compact, and we have to make it easy enough to disassemble and assemble, or to pack and to unload. And it's also designed for assembly. So our current rate for our houses is at least 1 to 2 days to put up a fully functioning house with toilet, bath, kitchen, electrical, plumbing, and everything in. So with regards to the material, we use engineered bamboo. Now on the diagram on the left, it's being compared to our top strongest hardwoods here in the Philippines. So as you can see, engineered bamboo farly compares to the rest. It's 14 times stronger than the strongest hardwood that we have here. Um, and other components of engineered bamboo, or other features of engineered bamboo, is that it's highly renewable. It only takes 3 years to grow, um, for it to be structurally stable. Um, it also has energy saving properties. So it's a natural insulator. And with our design, we use double walled panels. So the heat of the Philippines, doesn't it doesn't penetrate as much. So this material has been bamboo rather has been in the Philippines for decades, right? Or for centuries. We've been using the bahay kubo as a traditional home. But what we did is we tried to take it one step further and use a more processed type of bamboo, which is engineered bamboo, and have made designs inspired by the traditional designs of Bahay Kubo. So for some of our foreign friends here, the Bahay Kubo is not it's not uh, genuine to us. It's been in the Philippine tradition for decades, right? So this is our team. My co-founder and I are currently managing the operations and the day-to-day. And then we have our board of advisors as well. So they come from different industries. We have financing, we have construction, and we have development. So with regard to our 100-day plan, these were three target areas that we discussed with our diagnostic panel that needed more, needed more focus on. So with regards to the customer analysis, we were advised, right, that we were trying to tap into so many markets and we couldn't focus into one. But for us, the need really is for everyone, right? We have low hanging fruits that we're taking and that we're using to kind of help us get up on our feet since we just started. So right now we have a centralized quotation system. We use just Google Forms, but everyone who asks for a quote, we just direct them there, and we just use very simple questions. So anyone who knows how to do Google Forms can easily access it. We've currently done some customer analysis on our existing clients and our paid clients. And we've already started the conversation on mid-scale housing developers who do not require the specific government accreditation for mass housing. So with regards to our value proposition, upon talking to clients, no, we have actually laid out a few. We're sustainable, it's fast to assemble, it's scalable, but one thing that, based on our experience with our clients, I think the most important thing is the convenience of having their own home so quickly, and they can customize it with no extra added costs. They can make it their own home. And that's where we also thought where we can have another revenue stream, which is upgrades. So we offer our basic homes to anyone. It's very, very affordable. Now, there are some people who opt to upgrade some certain accessories or some architectural features like the roof the doorknobs, the everything else. And that's what we incorporate. And then finally, with regards to our third milestone or 100-day plan, it's to look for more financial partners to make our product more accessible. Because we want to offer loans to our clients. We can't say that we're an affordable home, but require a 50% down payment because not much of the low income earners have 50% in their pockets at the moment. So right now we're talking to two national financial organizations who are willing to help us, so we ask for some guidance, on manufacturing, technical and software support. So we have an architect, engineering team, design team who probably would be 100 times more productive if we had the right tools. More customer data focused tools. We also need more financial partners. Although we're in the early discussions with two, we still need more to reach more people. Developer clients, and of course, like help on manpower and capacity planning. Um, we can give. I was thinking so hard what we can give. I'm not so sure, but access to local network in the Philippines, and of course, bamboo facts. So anything you need to know about bamboo, we're here for it, especially in the local scene. No, we've had the privilege of getting exposed to different organizations, cooperatives, and different like even government agencies who have been working on bamboo. So we can also help relay that information. So if you want to contact me, this is my email. Feel free to reach out. And that's it. Thank you, Ka. Thank you, Abby.
Thanks, Zara. Could you go back to your ask slide,
Sure.
Zara, really, really briefly? I think Jessan is on the call here today. Jessan, I was wondering if maybe we could also connect you with the CUBO team so that you could maybe help them with the iTech accreditation, or at least pass it on to some of your partners at Habitat for Humanity who might know a little bit more about this.
Yes, sure, Kath. I'm happy to connect with Zara on some of those asks mentioned.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jasad. Do you have any comments, questions, asks, and gives from the group for Zara and the Kubo team? I know quite a number of you here are engaged in manufacturing activities, so maybe you could also lend a hand to Zara and her team based on your experience. Ian, do you have a question, comment?
I do. Yeah. Hi, Zara. This is Ian. Good to see you
Hi.
again.
Nice to
Thanks for the updates. I'm curious with your customer analysis. What are some of the things that you're finding over the last couple of months? What are some of the insights that you've figured out?
True. All right. So we do have a few services, right? So we don't just sell the house. We also provide, for example, delivery, assembly. We even provide the whole package with partnering with a local contractor and doing the foundation. So all the client needs to do is just sit down and wait for their house to come in. So that's what we call the kit and build. So 61% actually of our paid clients have preferred to get the kit and build service. So this means that Kubo will be the one to find the local contractor to do the project management, to handle all tapping to utilities, networks. 61% of them have opted for this. Now for our buyers, they're mostly personal buyers. So individuals, around 80% are individual buyers. And it's most frequently used for residential projects. Around 70% of the time, personal buyers buy it for residential projects. Not necessarily their first home or their only home, but still residential. And the average number of units per order is around 2 units, right? Um, Another income stream for Kubo is actually your customization. So the average custom, so we have two standard models right now, which is at 14.5 square meters and 29 square meters. But when they customize, the average size is actually 80 square meters. So it means that the people who customize usually can afford, the luxury of having more space, and thus we notice that a number of people who customize, it means they can afford to customize it or they want bigger sizes. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's good insights. I was just curious what the updates were.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ian. Any more comments, questions from the group for CUBO? Maybe Tim, Connie, or the Sampangan team who have, sort of manufacturing experience would like to share anything to kind of help the team out?
Yeah, sure. Dara, I'm not sure where you're stuck with or having any issues with manufacturing right now, but I'd be happy to discuss that with you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. We have a production line in Malaysia right now. It's basically more like more towards a prefabricated panel manufacturing. So I guess in a sense it's a bit similar to what you have. We actually cut steel frames. I'd love to have bamboo frames instead of steel. Like
Yeah,
we use light gauge steel, but pretty much the same thing. We'd fabricate a frame, right? And then a structural frame, and then infill that with our other biocomposite materials.
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Riz, do you have a comment, question?
Yes, I do. Yeah. We're currently helping on a project in Mondulkiri in Cambodia, and we've been looking for bamboo actually as well. So for construction on a project, are you able to work in Cambodia?
Right now, we've had some interest with export, right?
Yeah.
We haven't yet, but definitely possible. So it's just a matter of exporting. The assembly and installation can be trained, right? It can be
You can train people to do that?
Yeah, it can be learned.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay. And so do you also provide like an installation service as well? You'll build it, or will you just train the team here to do that?
I'll have to discuss with our team, right?
Okay.
But I think it's more feasible to have, like a supervisor be sent over, and then he'll be the one to train a few people, and then that's easier than sending like 12 or 4 people here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so one is
right.
easier to send, or one supervisor from your side can come over, and then he can learn here. There's a lot of possibilities. We can make it.
Okay. I'll contact you afterwards.
Sure,
If that's okay.
problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Riz. Would love to see CUBO's first international project come out from ShelterTech.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you again, Zara. I know you have a busy day ahead of you. So do leave your email address in the chat box so that everyone else can connect with you after.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you as well. So I'll call on the next team, TapEffect. So I think Riz, you're up next to present your company updates.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Riz from TapEffect. TapEffect. What we do here is we make piped water systems commercially viable to give rural communities access to affordable water. What that means is that we install taps in people's homes out in the rural countryside. This is the kind of things that we get up to while we're not online. We're usually digging, putting pipes in, and connecting houses up. The challenge that we find and that we're trying to also answer as well is how to make it more affordable for rural customers to have tap water. On average, the communities that we've worked in so far, they're spending 50 times more on bottled water than you or I would spend by turning on the tap. And that's quite hard for a lot of rural communities because they end up spending easily up to 10% of their monthly income on bottled water. The alternatives are quite expensive, so they don't really have much of a choice but either to buy drinking water or to go to a pond or a river to collect water. Of course, it's inconvenient with having to go to a river to collect water. Most of the solutions that NGOs provide have been temporary, such as digging a well or arranging trucks to be sent or trucked in water. There's a demand for tap water. There's about 8 million Cambodians that need access to clean water. And of course, the biggest issue really is on the supply side, that a lot of single system water operators aren't commercially viable because they don't have the technical expertise. And they're also small project sizes, so they're not easily replicatable or scalable. They tend to be family-run businesses. And that's an issue for the rural customer because the water operators don't have a full coverage in their local area. They may be on average 47% of the households connected in their area. So what we've done is that we've pioneered an innovative approach to dealing with that and making water systems profitable. One of those is grouping multiple water systems together and then running them, because by doing that, we are centralizing management. We're installing remote technology so that we can monitor those stations. That makes it more commercially attractive to investors because now they'll be investing in a set of portfolios rather than a single water system. Where we are right now is we completed our first pilot project in 2018, which covered 500 households. The next one was the first commercial system, which got completed last year with 14,000 people under that. And next up, what we're working on at the moment is putting together 10 water systems and raising finance to design and build them. I'll just quickly go over this slide. I don't need to probably tell you too much detail, but as you can see, we've got the first two systems up and running. We're now working on our third project as well, which is a pilot with the B2B water operators. What we found is that in Cambodia, there's 590 water operators who are not running efficiently. And so what we're also planning to do is extend our service to them in a business format, a franchise essentially, where we go in and we help them become effective and efficient. The phases after that we're already actually working on, which is the first portfolio of B2C, that's business to customer. Those are the ones that we actually build ourselves. We've already found 3 sites and we're in the process of licensing them. So we've still got 7 to go on that before we can start financing and building them. The team consists of, well, we have a board of directors, and underneath the board of directors, there's AJ, Nick, and myself, who are running the engineering, finance, and sales elements in the business. And this might be a little bit too much for everyone, but I just thought I would break down. I mean, I normally use Instagram for all the tasks that I've got. And so I did that with the 100-day plan, just breaking them each down and giving them a timeline. The things that we're covering in our 100-day plan and that we've almost completed is the marketing, developing the strategies. Some of those were to do with fine-tuning the messaging that we're giving people, and training the sales teams, developing sales materials, testing them and reiterating them several times, and also speaking to several organizations like 17 Triggers, Hydrologic, and IDE, who have a lot of experience, not only in Cambodia, but also marketing messages to the rural communities. So they've been giving us some good insights into the materials. We're already in the process of raising equity financing. We've got a couple of things done, but really we're still building our larger investment deck and a company deck. We're also refining our financial model. We originally were trying to do it ourselves, and we realized that we weren't making a clean model. As much as we've both got financial experience, we then decided to outsource it to someone whose full-time job is to make financial models, and he's doing a great job, and that should be finished by maybe by the end of this week, possibly. The other tasks that we had were developing the customer acquisition strategy, and that included going into influencers' homes and installing taps, having vendor payment points, point of sales materials, and also like a welcome pack for new customers, which is also in progress. We do expect that to be completed probably in the first week of, probably at the end of this month or the first week of April. We're still working on the financing, looking for possible partners. We do have a list of partners, potential partners, but what we haven't done yet is contacted them until we've got our fundraising materials sorted. And also we're conducting studies for the 10 water systems for the portfolio, of which we've kind of got 3 underway already. So that was an update. So now I'll give you an ask and give. What I'm asking for is if you can connect me to local water operators in your country, so that I can start discussing ways that TapEffect and them can work together on some kind of franchise type model, and just to start testing our expertise abroad. We know that we can do it in this country, but what we want to now also test is if we can do it abroad regionally. Also need help to produce a good looking pitch deck. As you've probably seen from my pitch deck, it's a bit dry. So we're looking for someone who can help us produce a good looking pitch deck. What I can help you with, the give, is I can connect you to any stakeholders that you may want to connect to in Cambodia, whether that's for Bamboo or for any other business. I can help you with your go-to-market strategies. I can walk through those with you. And because we're doing a lot of sales and training at the moment for our teams, I can also help you in that and how to create a sales program for your sales teams. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks so much, Riz. Any comments, questions, asks, and gives from the group?
Hi, Riz.
Hi.
Yeah, Tim here. Sorry, my camera's not working for some reason. I just wanted to ask you about the technology. I assume you're using RO filters right now?
No, what we do is we actually build a water treatment plant from the ground up.
Sorry, I missed that. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, maybe I should have mentioned that in my presentation. What we do is that we actually, we go into an area, we build a water treatment plant there, and then we connect the households through pipes. So to give you an example, on our Bantamanche site, which is the first commercial one, we've installed 60 kilometers of pipes so far. I think we've got maybe like 2 kilometers left for households that are far away from the system. So we still got to connect those guys, but that'll just be a couple of kilometers there. But otherwise, we've completed that. And what usually happens is that we take water either from a boring hole or from the river, clean it, and then push it through the pipes into people's homes.
Right, right. Very nice. Yeah. Well, I was just wondering, whether you'd come across any kind of distillation process, a cheap distillation process, maybe through solar or whatever it is. The reason being is there's a lot of coastal communities. Inland we can get more fresh water, but the coastal communities will have a lot of salinity to deal with.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether you have any solutions.
We don't have a solution as such, because we haven't worked in that area. Although there is a project in the Caribbean that we're looking at the moment, and that's on an island that's been storm damaged, and they have a system there that collapsed under the storm damage. So what we're assessing right now, doing a feasibility study, is whether we can go there and build a new system for them. But again, it's not something that we've got previous experience in desalination. Most of our work has been within just the traditional water treatment plants.
Right, right.
Also, the desalination systems are fairly expensive, as you probably know. So we've tended to stay away from anything that can't make a good return and lower costs. And I think when we did look at those systems, it turns out that it's quite expensive for the customer to be able to pay for that. So it really only works in areas where there's grant funding available to subsidize the cost of the desalination plant.
Yep. Sure, understand that. Yep. Thank you.
Hi, This is Gungi from my dream home, and
Hi.
glad to see your progress so far. So related to your project at Mandal 3, since my dream home got the order there, so around 2,000 square meters. So in case that you need small amount, maybe I can also offer you with a special price, because normally a small amount cannot be delivered because we take a lot of, more cost on transporting. But since I already have the order there, so maybe
is that for piping? Is that for piping or for taps, or what kind of materials?
It's for office building, in case that you need for, let's say, your office or for workers. So I can offer you with some special price of brick for installation there.
Okay, that's great. I'll connect with you after the webinar today, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kongi. I think Riz, I don't know if you're still hiring, but you could also send Kongi, the GP to kind of spread to Cambodian contacts as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I will do that afterwards as well.
We already used to join in the Accelerator program by UNDP, so same team. Yeah.
Same team, yeah. We have actually found two good sales people. We haven't hired them yet. We're just doing our final interviews this week for them. So we're quite positive on the recruitment side. But if that does fail, I will speak to you as well, and that way, maybe you want to hire some salespeople too, and I've got a list of good salespeople now.
Great, sounds good. Any more questions, comments for Nick and TapEffect?
Just real quick, Riz, Zian, with the financial modeling that you're having done, is this the full portfolio modeling?
That's right. Yeah, it's the full portfolio modeling, and it incorporates our. So what we've done is that we've actually combined both the portfolio model and the current one that we've got. although the investors will only see the portfolio one, but the one that we're building kind of fully encompasses covering all the costs and assumptions for the previous 2 sites that we're also running. So it'll end up being our like kind of budgeting forecasting model as well. So it's kind of got 2 uses for it, but yeah.
That's great. It's projections based on real numbers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's a little bit more real, I think. I mean, we tried working on it several. We did do a lot of work on our one, but we just felt that it wasn't conveying the message effectively. And the hardest challenge that we have is there's a lot of assumptions going into those models, from water loss to funding coming in and how that then impacts the portfolio. So we just thought, okay, we've just got to bite the bullet and get someone whose full-time profession is a financial modeler.
Great. I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Riz. I think I was quite amazed looking at your Gantt chart. So please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was wondering whether that was going to be overwhelming or not. But then I thought it's probably a good idea just to share this with everyone so that maybe they might get inspired to use it as well. It's a very good tool. I used to use Excel before, but now it's online. It's called Instagan, and it's free as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you could share the link also either in our Telegram group or our Mighty Networks page.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you, Riz.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Riz, also please, put your email in the chat box so everyone else can connect with you after today.
Sure.
All right. We only have one last group left. So I'd like to call on the Affordable Abodes team. So Tim, if that's you presenting.
Yeah. Hi, thank you, Kath. I apologize that my camera's gone on fritz at the wrong time. I guess it's tired of looking at me. Anyways, here's whether you can you got this right.
Yes, we see it.
Okay, so here's the update on us. We're Affordable Abodes based in Singapore. Our factory is in Malaysia, and we produce a product called Kanafcrete, which is a biocomposite which is used for building affordable shelters. We started about 5 years ago and have built about 11 structures so far. What is Kanafcrete? It's basically the core of the Kanaf plant. It's a hibiscus plant that's totally renewable. And we grind that up and mix it with waste lime binders here and cast it into a steel frame, a light gauge steel frame. And then use that as a structural wall panel. It's very lightweight, good insulation against heat and cold as well as sound.
Sorry, Tim, I'll cut you off just for a sec. I don't know if it's the display settings, but we actually see you in presentation mode, so we don't see the full deck on screen.
Okay, hang on, let me jump out. Do you see this now?
No, it's still the same.
Let me stop share. Let me get out of this. Let me try this again. Is that better? Is this better?
It's still the same, but I think it's okay. I think just earlier there were some details in your slide that we couldn't quite see in detail, but it's okay.
Hang on. Let me see what's going on. I guess you're seeing the same thing, huh? I'm not too sure why.
Yeah, no worries. I think you can continue.
Okay. Hang on, maybe let me try one more thing. Yeah, I guess I for some reason I can't get it up onto presentation mode. Okay, well, sorry about that. So I'll just continue here. So we've built, as I said, about 11 structures so far, and most of them were for very marginalized communities and families. And in some cases they just simply couldn't afford to rebuild or build a proper structure. So in our cycle of things, we practice really what we call the circular economy. Everything starting from farming. The kanaf farming only takes 4 months to mature, and then we can use the entire plant for many things, not just wall panels. We've also got research going on for the kanaf fibers, which can replace fiberglass. So we're looking at doing roofing shelters with that. The waste part of it actually can be composted back into fertilizer. The leaves and shoots and even the seeds can be eaten as a very protein-rich food crop. Right. This is our team, myself and Nick, who's also on the call. We've been involved in various building activities for probably over 2 decades, almost 3 decades. And behind us is a group of investors who are also social impact minded investors. Very quickly, just to jump into our 100-day plan, I kind of centered it around the ShelterTech grant. So we kind of started somewhere in December last year. And worked out a plan, realized that in our financial assessment there were huge issues, having to deal with the COVID problems, the inability of people to move about freely, really impacted us very heavily in terms of our business. Virtually all low cost construction in Malaysia has stagnated. So
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're on a different slide, but what we can see is still some of the structures that we built already in the past.
Sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, moving right along. Yeah, I'm supposed to be on this slide now. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Our 100-day plan, which I said was centered on the award of the grant from Habitat. Yeah, so we were looking at the market financial assessments and trying to understand what we should be doing really. First of all, we had problems with customers not being able to come to see us, to see our structures, not being able to visit our factory, and of course, we were struggling last year tremendously with financial issues. So we had to dispose of some underutilized assets to raise some funding to continue the operation. And then in February, sometime last month, we had a good call with Ian. Ian's excellent mentor, and he advised us on several things. So we tried to refine our go-to markets, to look at other opportunities besides housing. There's also a demand in workers' quarters, for plantations and renovations instead of actual new buildings. So we're engaging into that market as well right now. We also looked at looking into how to redesign our manufacturing, because our big factory right now is unable to operate normally, because of safety distancing and other issues. So we're looking at how to scale it into a modular manufacturing with the use of very low cost 3D printing. And right now we're at the stage where this is the advice of Ian. Actually, he has experience building a mobile exhibit using our Kanafcrete panels, and this is what we are looking at doing at the moment. And of course, then with the manufacturing side of things, we're looking at assembly and sourcing of the right components for doing the modular manufacturing. So far, we've also raised some funding for another project using Kanaf fiber technology to build roofing tile. And that's small funding from the Singapore government itself. Now with the award of the grant, what we intend to do with some of the funds is to build that mobile exhibit so that we can transport it more easily to our customers, so that they can see, feel, kick and scratch and sniff it, and get to experience it firsthand. And also the second thing we'll do is try to assemble and do the testing of the 3D modular manufacturing system. So hopefully the funding will come through sometime next month, so we can enable that to happen. And in June, then with the mobile shelter constructed, we should be able to put it into a roadshow. And then we'll do also testing on the manufacturing system. And of course, we have to continually assess the progress and make improvements. Our ask and gives, we really do need to raise some funding to launch the new ShelterTech, especially the roofing components, so that would enable us to provide a complete Kanaf structure for our customers. We are looking for strategic partners, strategic investors who could be from property development or construction, or even in the agronomy industry. Our gives would be to be able to franchise this ShelterTech to the right partners. And also we do have a bit of experience in material technology, particularly more in the cementitious and the biocomposites line of things. So that's what we have to offer at this stage. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Tim. Any questions, comments, asks, or gives from the group?
Hi, Tim. This is
Hi.
Lisa.
Yep. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. You just mentioned the idea of potentially franchising this business or aspect of your business, and that brought to mind a contact that I have who leads an organization out of the US that is offering expertise in franchising for social enterprises on a global scale. So if you have interest in learning more about optimization of franchising, I have a great contact in that department.
Yes, great. Please, let's get connected, please.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Lisa. Any more? Ian, I think you have a question or comment.
Yeah, just a real quick question. Tim, thanks for the update. This looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm curious if you've identified the sites that you want to take this mobile shelter to.
Yeah, so there's within Malaysia, there's a couple of sites that we need to bring it to. One is Kuala Lumpur, the capital. The other one would be the state of Perak, the city of Ipoh. There are potential customers there, or strategic partners that need to see this. So those are the two at the moment that are very sort of pressing need.
Great. Well, or to you guys being able to kick that off and roll that out.
Yeah, we're planning on that right now. Yes, and thank you for the advice. Good advice.
That's what I'm here for.
Great, thanks. There's also a message from Kongi in the chat. Thanks, Tim. Hope to talk individually and learn more about your product. So Tim, if you could also just put your email address in the chat box so that the others can connect with you offline.
Yes, sure, will do. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So round of applause for everyone for presenting their progress updates. I know that we have Zaw and Claire also from Punamu, and Nayar and Andrew from Nayar, who could not make it to today's learning lab. So we do send all of our love to the teams in Myanmar. Thank you for joining us today, despite everything that's happening. So we do, wish to kind of connect with you at a time when things are a little bit more, settled. But thank you so much for joining us, Claire and Zaw, today. All right. So again, thank you everyone for sharing your progress updates. We do have much more in store for you over the next few months. So really happy to be working with all of you individually. And, I know most of you have already scheduled follow-up calls with Ian for the next few weeks. So looking forward to hearing more about these updates during those calls. All right. Before we kind of get into part 2 of our investment readiness workshops today, Mickey has prepared for us a quick icebreaker and activity for us. So I will just pull up my screen. All right, Mickey, I'm passing the mic to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Kath. Hi, everyone. So I think if you watch some late night shows, they play the Whisper Challenge. And so today for our icebreaker, we'll be playing that, but kind of with a bit of a twist. So we're grouping not just the cohort, but everyone on this call into 2 groups, Team A and Team B. I'll put the groupings here in the chat. And then we'll be putting everyone in a breakout room for a few minutes. So you decide on your team name and then also the order of representatives that your team will be having to be the Whisper Challenge taker. And so when you come back from your breakout room, we'll select the team to go first and we'll give a theme. So we have 3 themes ready for today, and we'll give you a theme and your representative will send I will send the word or phrase to you via chat, and you'll be on mute. So the representative will be on mute and try to mouth the word to your teammates, and they have to guess what you're trying to say. So you have 30 seconds to mouth the word, and your teammates will guess. If they are able to guess your word, then you get 1 point. If not, then we move on to the next group. So for now, I'll be putting you all into your breakout rooms and then decide on a team name and the order of representatives that you have. So you'll have about 2 to 3 minutes to do this. I'm opening the rooms now, so go ahead to your breakouts.
Yeah. Mickey, if I could also just add, so for those of you who joined us during our happy hours before, If you want, you could also come up with a team sound. I know that all of you came up with some very creative team sounds during our happy hour sessions. So we'll leave it up to you, and we'll put you in breakout rooms. And once everyone comes back, everyone should have their team name and team sound.
Yes.
All right. There should be a prompt on your screens now with your team, your breakout rooms. So please go ahead. Ian, Lisa, Jason, and Mira, we've also put you in teams. So this is going to be a lot of fun today.
Okay, cool.
Nikki, how many minutes do we have for the breakout?
I was thinking 2 to 3, so maybe we can end it at 10:15.
Okay. And then, yeah. And then we can have 15 minutes for the actual thing.
Yeah.
Okay. People look excited to play the game.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Okay.
they'll be game.
Gotta keep the energy up. Okay,
Yeah.
we got this. How are you feeling today, Kath? Are you feeling sick? Oh, go ahead, Abby.
Last night I was supposed to work, but I died. As in, I went to bed so early, like 9. Before 9:30,
Good job!
I was in bed. So I was like,
I'm so proud.
I was supposed to get up. I told my mom, I was like, I'm taking a nap for like 90 minutes. And then she came back and she was like, aren't you supposed to work? And I was like, no. And then I just went back to bed. So yeah.
That's better. I think you need it.
Yeah. Sorry, Abby, you were saying?
Oh, I was gonna ask lang if I can do my acumen homework first.
Yeah, go. Okay. Do you know what time it ends? I mean, it's due. There should be, I think it's 11:59, but I don't know what the time zone is. Probably EST. So
okay,
I think
because I have two homework. I have two like submissions left.
Okay, go Abby.
Oh my gosh, go Abby.
Okay, BRB.
This is what I did also, like my old job. I like spent a day just doing my homework for
homework.
Social impact analysis course.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but that was super easy, as in like medyo koela siya. So parang So yeah, go Abby, I support.
Pretty cool. How many minutes do they have? 1 minute left. I'll broadcast the message. Okay, which theme do you want to go with first? ShelterTech related?
Yeah, sige, let's do that.
Okay. And then we'll see na lang how long they have. Kath, I showed Abby a picture of my toe. And
oh my
she was
God.
like,
can
how
you
hard
show
did you get it?
I want to see.
You want to see?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll show you a picture from today.
Is it painful when you walk?
It's so bad. Yeah, kind of.
So
I'm not really supposed to walk on it now.
Yeah.
I know, I have to take a break. There, I sent it to you.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay, I'll close the rooms now.
No! Oh, there's a blister also. Is that a blister?
Oh no, that part is just like it got lighter now.
From the pasa. Is it a pasa?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so bruised.
Oh
Wait,
my
I'll
God.
close the room, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's so bad.
Oh, your
It's
tiny
painful.
nail is dead.
I know, it's dead. It died. I'm so sad. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Everyone has their team name and team sound already. I think half of the group is still in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, some are coming back.
Hi, Zo. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I love the bamboo structure behind you.
Yeah, this is my workplace. So this is a treatment area. So this is very so you can see there.
Very nice. Yeah.
But now we already closed our business because of the condition. So all of the worker is not here. Only me, I am watchman now for my properties.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. All right. I see everyone is back. Great. Could we maybe hear from Team A? So that's Riz, Tim, Claire, Hannah, Janine, Zo, Ian, and Jessan. What is your team name and team sound?
I don't think we picked a name.
Oh, do you have a sound?
Anyone?
The sound that we heard at Zo's factory.
Yeah, birds.
Oh yeah, birds.
Sleeping birds, something like that.
Sleeping bird.
Tweet, tweet, tweet.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Great. All right. Team B. So that's Kongi, Annabelle, Angela, Dr. Ishani, Nick, Lisa, and Mira. What is your team name and team sound?
Got the team name, but we forgot about the sound, obviously.
Okay, what's your team name?
Alpha.
Alpha. Okay.
All right.
So we have Alpha and tweet, tweet, tweet. Okay. Maybe Team Alpha, you can go first. Who's your first representative?
We decided to go from reverse, like alphabetical order, right? So it's like, I think it's Mira then.
Okay. Where's Mira? Mira, you're first.
Is it Nick first?
Oh, it's Nick.
True, yeah, Nick.
Oh, right, Nick, right. Oops.
Okay.
There's Nick.
Cool. So our theme for this first round is going to be ShelterTech related terms. Nick, I am sending you in the chat your word. Please put yourself on mute, and then you will have 30 seconds to mouth your word, and the rest of your team will have 30 seconds to guess it. 30 seconds in total. Okay. Nick, I sent you your word, and your time starts now. Okay, Team Alpha, start guessing.
Affordable?
Is it affordable? Oh, time's up. Cass, should we give an extra 15 seconds?
Yeah, maybe we should.
Okay, Nick, you'll have an extra 15 seconds. Team Alpha, you have 15 seconds to guess. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Any guesses? 5 seconds.
Any guesses at all? Go, guys.
Sustainability.
Oh, time's up.
Good guess. Was that it?
No, it was not sustainability. Okay.
I thought there was a B. But...
There was a B.
There was a B, yeah. So Nick, do you want to tell us what the word is? I think there might be some audio issue.
Yeah.
Hear me?
Okay, there. We hear you now.
The word was prefabricated.
Okay.
Prefabricated.
So you guys gave him the easy one.
All right. Thank you. Prefabricated. So just mouth it with your really big. Okay, can we have the next team? Is it Team Tweet Tweet?
You must give them a Dow chemical name, to be fair.
Okay, Mickey, are we moving to the next team?
Yes. So who's your team representative?
I think I'm going Janine.
Okay, awesome. I'm sending you in the chat your word. All right, sent. Okay, 30 seconds starts. Oh, sorry, 45 seconds starts now.
Bonjour.
Modular.
Modular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who got that?
Yay!
Nice one. Nice one, team.
All right.
Okay. So that's 1 point for team. Is it Sleeping Birds? Is that what your team name?
Oh, that will do.
Yeah, I like that.
Got it. All right. Nice. Okay, 1 point for Team Sleeping Birds. Okay, could we have the next person up from Team Alpha? I think that's you, Mira.
Yep, that's me.
Okay. We'll still continue with the ShelterTech related terms. Mira, I'll be sending you the word in the chat now.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Okay, remember to go on mute, Mira. Okay.
Oh yeah, Mira. I can. Mira, can you go on mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
All right. Mira, you got your word? Oh, I suppose she did. I sent it. Okay, ready, set, and go. Any guesses?
Any guesses?
25 seconds to go.
Remember the theme is ShelterTech related terms. So
10 seconds to go. Five.
It's so hard.
And time's up. Mira, do you want to share what it is?
It was roofing.
Oh,
It wasn't half as bad as prefabricated.
Oh.
all right. Thanks, Mira. So next we have team. What was it again? Sleeping Birds.
Bird.
Okay.
Team Sleeping Bird.
Who's your next representative?
Is it not the same person who chooses, or is it different people each time?
You could
Yeah,
go with the
different
same
each
person.
time.
You could, yeah. I mean, you could also go with someone else.
Riz, I think you just signed up.
Yeah, first person to talk. we'll stick to that selection process. Sure.
Okay, Riz. The theme for this one is going to be 80s songs. Okay.
Okay, so everyone should think of 80s songs.
80s songs. Riz, I'm sending it to you, your word, in the chat now. Oh, sorry. I sent you the wrong thing, Riz. That was for another one. Okay, 45 seconds starts.
Is it Take On Me?
Yeah.
All right.
That's so good.
Well done.
It's not even my era.
Great job, Janine. Okay, that's 2 points for Team Sleeping Birds.
All right.
Let's go to the next team. Lisa, I think you're next.
Okay, Lisa, I'm sending you.
No, we have 2 more people before me, right?
Oh, who's next?
Ellen. Oh yeah, it's right. Sorry.
Okay, Lisa, sending you the word now. And your 45 seconds starts now.
Don't stop believing.
Yes, well done. Nice one,
All
Annabelle.
right.
All right. So that's 1 point for Team Alpha. Great job. Okay. Who's next for Team Sleeping Birds?
Team Sleeping Birds.
Now nobody wants to speak.
Ian, maybe it should be you.
Sure, I'll go. I was going to say Janine should go again.
Okay, Ian, I'm sending you your song title in the chat. All right, you have 45 seconds. Oh, please go on mute also as well. All right, 45 seconds starts now.
Billie Jean.
Can I ring on it?
Oh my
Billie
gosh,
Jean.
Billie
Yeah.
Jean.
Billie Jean.
Got it.
Nice one. Janine's on a roll today.
She is.
She's a ringer.
All right, good
Okay.
job. Next team.
Who's next? How many, Kath? I've lost track. How many rounds have we had? 1.
I think we've had 3.
3, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's next?
Is this our last round, Nikki?
Yeah, we can do our last round now.
Okay.
I think
All
we
right.
have Kongi.
Kongi, I think you're up next. Yeah?
Okay, Kongi. Our theme for this is food. All right. Kongi, I'm sending you the word now. And you have 45 seconds. Any guesses?
So again, the theme, so this category is food. So any guesses what food item Kongi is saying?
Pizza.
So close. So
We
close.
need one more word.
Pizza
There's
pie?
one more word.
Pizza slice?
No, one word before it.
Oh.
Okay, thumbs up. Kongi, do you want to share?
I want a
Yes.
pizza.
Yeah, that pizza is Hawaiian pizza.
Oh, that's hard.
That hard, yeah. That's why I spell pizza before I know that it's hard. That's why it's just not a pizza.
Do we get half a point?
Sure.
Sure. We can
That's
get
0.5.
Great. All right. Next team. Who's up next?
For Team Sleeping Bird. Any volunteers?
Nobody wants to go next?
Kath, you want to call someone?
Sure. Is maybe Jessan would like to take a stab at it?
All right. Jessan, I am sending you the word now. And you have 45 seconds.
Banana.
So there's another word after banana.
About halfway through.
Banana pancake.
Yes.
Nice. Great job.
Great.
Okay, I think we're down to our final
Oh,
question.
I think that was that the last?
I think one last one, right? After this.
We've had 4 rounds already.
Okay, so what's our score, Mickey?
Oh my gosh. I couldn't keep track. I know. We got.
I think Team Sleeping Birds has 3. Is that correct?
And
Or
then
do we
Team
have 4?
Alpha.
I think we've got 4.
4.
Did
Okay.
Team Alpha get 2? 2 or 3?
Two and a half for Team Alpha.
2.5. Okay.
2.5. Okay.
All right.
So
well, congratulations to Team Sleeping Birds. Well done. I think that just means you've been on too many Zoom calls to do well at this game. So congratulations. We'll probably come up with a fun little prize for you all after this session. All right. Thank you everyone for being so game, for joining our little icebreaker challenge. I hope that was fun. I will now pass it on to Lisa and Ian for our investment readiness activities for today.
Great. Thank you, Kath. That was really fun. Let's see. I think Ian's going to go ahead and share the screen. And let's see. Take a little deep breath, get into the moment. Back to investment readiness. So we're going to get back to serious topics, but I think we'll have a little fun with it today. And we have a little bit more time today, so we'll be able to do some more interactive breakouts and a little more sharing between each other about your experiences and your objectives. So I think that you guys will all find that useful because, when we share our stories, we can all learn from each other, and every experience contributes to the learning of everyone. So we look forward to doing a couple breakouts, and we'll start today just thinking back really quickly on what we learned yesterday. So we started the investment journey talking about investor perspective, and then we added on the layer of talking about financial modeling, but kind of going beyond financial modeling to think through the more strategic elements, sort of stress testing your model, how to build a strong model, and doing that with an eye toward preparing for the deeper probing that investors will do when you're presenting your numbers to them. So we're going to take that sort of strategic thinking that we did yesterday, and we're going to bring it to a little bit more of a tactical level today. So we're going to cover investment strategy and investment ask. Both of these will be kind of taking that frame that we established yesterday of thinking about the capital markets and the mindset of the investor that you're approaching, then thinking deeply about your business and your numbers and what you're going to ask for. Now we're going to talk about how do you take that to that marketplace? How do you think strategically about building out a campaign to approach the market with your investment offering? And so we'll cover several different aspects of. That's fine. Oh, that's fine. You can go to the next slide. We'll cover several different aspects of the investment strategy, and then we'll dive into a little bit more around the numbers and the ask. Okay, so we're switching to this slide here. All right, moving all around. Okay. There we go. Okay, so to begin with, for our investment strategy, we're going to start by talking about defining the mandate, and that builds a little bit on the investor perspective that we talked about yesterday. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Ian to start with the mandate, but for the broader picture of what we're going to do, kind of think about this almost like a campaign. Ian compared it yesterday to taking your product, which is your business in this case, to the market, to the capital markets. So continuing with that analogy, we're going to talk about approaching a campaign, building a campaign for that market. So we'll talk about, as we would with any kind of marketing campaign, we'll talk about understanding that market. That's the mandate. We'll talk about targeting within that market. That is making a list, a prioritized list of who you want to go after and understanding why they're who you're targeting. And then we'll talk about how we access them through building our networks. And then we'll talk about actually managing that as a campaign. So I love today that Riz showed that really detailed Gantt chart. I'm not going to show you a detailed Gantt chart, but it's just a really great example of how managing your approach to accomplishing things can actually be a big part of the success in making that accomplishment, pushing it across the final finish line. And I'd like to apply that lens when we're talking about seeking investment as well. A lot of times people think about it as kind of like accessing that one person, that one fund, and having that magical moment. And that's true, but the best way to reach the magical moment is by setting up a very strategic, very methodical, and highly organized campaign. And finally, we'll talk a little bit about urgency. That circles back to something that Steve Melhush mentioned on one of the calls that he did with us earlier in the program, where he said that he always likes to set a deadline for his capital raises. And this is a theme in the industry and different types of capital raises, where not only are you managing then your own campaign against an urgent deadline, but you create urgency within the investment community that you're speaking to, and potentially it gives you a leg up in negotiation when you have competing offers potentially. So that's the highlight of the overview. And we're going to make an attempt with our technology here, our connectivity today, to pass it back and forth. So hopefully that goes smoothly. So I'm going to ask Ian to go ahead and jump in on talking about mandate.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So mandate. So we're looking at this again from the investor's perspective. If you recall yesterday, I kind of kicked things off as talking about, as Lisa outlined, your product market and your capital markets. And so the mandate is really kind of where the investor is coming from. Another way to think of this is their investment strategy. When an investment fund or an investor really represents capital, and that capital has a certain things that they're looking for as far as when they want to try to place their investment. And so that a lot of times comes as a mandate. And there's certain categories that fits into, and we've outlined a few of these here. You can think of this as sometimes you kind of get to the point really quickly, but really a lot of these investment strategies have the sectors that they're working in. They have risk profiles. They also have geographic areas that they're trying to place their capital. And there's lots of reasons for that. Not to mention networks, but also understanding regulatory climates and so forth. Of course, there is the stage that the companies that they're looking to invest in, and a lot of times that represents the ticket size as well. So if you think about the stage and ticket size, you can think about that as kind of like a risk profile. A lot of times when they're going at an earlier stage, there's a lot more risk involved because there's ultimately chances that the earlier you get, the more chances there are that the company won't succeed. And with that comes smaller ticket sizes. And as you kind of go up the ladder as far as the stages of investments, you think of angel to Series A to Series B and so forth. Obviously, the ticket sizes get larger, the risk profiles change, and in a lot of ways become less risky. But the other side of this, and particularly when you're thinking about impact investment, there's also the outcomes or the types of impact that they're trying to drive towards. So you can think of things like circular economies, sustainability, and a lot of that is kind of framed around the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I think we're all familiar with those, but a lot of investors align to those. So what the thinking here is that as we kind of talked about yesterday, the customer, your investor, has a particular mandate or a strategy that they're trying to match. And so really what you're trying to do as you kind of position your company to get investment is to really try to find those that you match with. We have just an example here. This is actually not a real fund, it's just an example, but these are some of the things that you have to think through as far as what investors are out there and what they might be looking for. And of course, with that and with the back of your mind that you're always thinking that, how does this align with our business and how do we fit in with this potential investor? So it's helpful to not only, which we'll talk about, track the different investors that you come across and what they're looking for, but also try to think about what's the mandate that would fit for your business. And it might be a simple exercise, but it's something that's really good to make sure that going into talking to investors, doing pitches and so forth, that you really have an alignment with their strategy and their mandate, as well as some of the additional pieces that they might be able to bring beyond just investment. So this is kind of a diagram to think how this fits together. This is supposed to look like a key where the teeth of the key are kind of fitting together. These are some of the kind of big kind of buckets of the different areas that you want to seek alignment. Of course, the industry or sector. Now, that's not only just, say affordable housing or fintech or so forth, but that goes down even deeper. And so you want to think through how do you fit not only in a broader sense, but really what's the particular investors that fit kind of a deeper piece of your industry or sector. Of course, geography is very important, but there's also overlaps. So there might be regionally, like Asia, there might be specific countries, there might be developing versus developed. There's a different range of geographies to keep track of as well. Of course, the stage, and I think we have a good range of stages in the group here. And when we talk stage, of course there is the Series A or Series B, but there's also angel, there's also early stage. When you get into the kind of the earlier segments, it gets more stratified. So really trying to understand where you fit on stage and how that relates to ticket size is really important. So Both of those kind of interplay with each other. Sometimes we talk to entrepreneurs, and kind of the exercise that we went through yesterday, they don't quite understand their investment ask, but they'll say that they want $500,000 and they're at a very early stage. And that really doesn't quite align with the ticket sizes of investors that might be looking to help companies of that early stage in the process. Like I said before, moving on to impact objectives, this is where it's really good to clearly define the type of impact that your company is bringing. This is a great way to align with an investor, and it's a great way to kind of market your company and what you're trying to accomplish, not only from a financial side, but really what are the objectives, the impact objectives that you're trying to accomplish. Rate of return, or IRR, that's, of course, investment, talking numbers. We're going to get into that a little bit more later, but that is a good one that you're going to want to track. We'll talk about how to underwrite that yourself so that you're in a better position for negotiating. But this is something that, investors will be kind of open about, on being able to give you, say, an idea of what they're looking for, but ultimately they'll do their own underwriting once they get a little bit deeper with looking into your company. So this is a good one to track and understand, not only from the investor side, but really the numbers you think you might be able to hit. And then ultimately, time frame and exit plan. This is a pretty critical one that has to really align with the vision of your business. Are you looking to own this company indefinitely, and so you're looking for a partner that's going to kind of ride along with you all the way? Or are you trying to get in, build the business, and get out? And therefore you might want to look for investors that really push for that. And having that alignment is very important, and understanding that up front. Ultimately, you don't want to waste time. Time is precious, both for the investor and for yourself. And so understanding what your alignment is and their alignment, and trying to find an equal ground. And as soon as you identify that there isn't, then it's probably best to move on and continue your search. So this is a good place to really kind of think about where does your company fit in the whole ecosystem of investing. So with that kind of quick overview of alignment, we wanted to jump into a breakout session. Lisa, do you want to go ahead and explain this?
Yeah. So now that we've talked a little bit about mandate alignment, we're guessing that you guys have thought about some of this stuff before, for sure. And some of you have even talked with investors, pitched to investors, or actually made a deal. So you've been able to either think about your alignment, your mandate alignment, so where you fit into these categories, or you've been able to create an alignment with an investor. And what we would like you to do in the breakout is to, depending on what type of experience you've had, either tell a story about where you were able to find that alignment with an investor, where what they were looking for, or where the alignment was not there, in that you were saying, I'm offering an affordable housing solution, and they were looking for a clean water solution, so a misalignment. Or if you haven't done that kind of pitching, go ahead and describe what your sector alignment would be, each of these categories, to your partner in the breakout, and ask them if they know any investors that might have alignment with their needs. So go ahead and tell a story either about alignment, a misalignment, or what you might need. That's in the short summary. And Mickey is going to go ahead and send us off into breakout groups. You're going to have just pairs, one-on-one. So we'll use half of the time for one to tell a story and the other half for the other. or feel free to dialogue about the topic and your experiences with investors. We're going to take 8 minutes for this, so about 4 minutes each. And as soon as you're ready, Mickey, go ahead and assign the break.
Rooms are open now, so go ahead.
So Nikki has also put the mandate alignment in the chat box, just so that you have a reference when you go into your breakout rooms.
Perfect. Thank you, Mickey. How is that audio coming across, Kath? Is it okay?
It's okay. I think audio is quite clear. Your video sometimes lags, Ian, but we hear you pretty well. It's okay.
We tried to
maybe I'll turn my video
network.
off while I'm talking.
Yeah, we're having a little connectivity issue today. But...
No worries. Yeah. It's been pretty smooth, so it's fine. Yeah.
So, Kath, do we have the time for the session that Lizanne wanted with Ian?
At the end, yes. So we'll be presenting her slides. But we have emailed everyone already, and I think a lot of them have been in touch with her for the catalytic funds.
Okay.
So I'm not aware of how much time do we have? We kind of were down to the wire, so.
For the breakout rooms or for the whole session?
Well, what Mira just mentioned, I wasn't aware of, so I just realized I'm not sure if, I mean, we were just going to continue on. I didn't think there was anything other than the final exercise.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We feel that we allotted more than enough time for the exercise at the end, so we can kind of pare that down a little bit. And then we'll just go over just some very quick reminders at the end. So it should take about 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
Time is almost up, so I'll close the rooms in a bit. All right, I'll close the rooms now.
Thanks, Mickey.
Sorry, Zor, we were halfway through our chat here.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I think everyone's back. So Ian, Lisa, back to you.
Great. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm curious to ask everybody how your talks went and what you learned from each other. But in the interest of time, we're going to move forward. And what I want you to be thinking about in the back of your mind, remember my light bulb yesterday. We talked about taking note of ahas. Well, for our next breakout, we're going to make some commitments of action items. So as we continue to work through the rest of the material, be sure to take a note of action items that occur to you during this process and in what we share, in addition to possibly action items that you are planning to do that are related to your investment strategy and investment ask. So I hope you had fun chatting. And now we're going to move forward with the layer of the topic. So we're going to take that thoughtfulness about mandate alignment and thoughtfulness about how my business fits a mandate. And now what I'm going to do is build a target list. So what you want to do is look across the investment landscape and identify the targets that are the best fit to your offering. So what we suggest doing is creating a target matrix. And so what you would do with this is essentially, if I hear about an investor, say a fund like Bamboo Capital and their SDG fund, and I heard my friend Arun speak at a conference, and I could tell that this particular fund was a great fit for my business. What I would do is go ahead and get out my matrix and take note of all of the elements that I heard him say on stage. Okay, he mentioned geography and sector. I knew that he had an impact objective that fit me, and I'd add it into my matrix. And maybe you only have time at that moment to just do that. Fine, put it in there, return later so that you can continue filling it out. But what you'll want to do is add a layer of research. So after you see somebody speak at a conference and you recognize that you might have a target in mind, go ahead and look them up and see if you can fill out the other aspects of the mandate to ensure that they're a good target for you. If you learn that this particular moment of inspiration is actually a miss because they actually only fund Series B and beyond, then you've already identified that they're not a fit for you. But at that point, you might, keep them lower on your list of priorities, but potentially reach out to them to ask for an introduction to an earlier stage fund that might have a similar strategy to theirs, but targeting earlier stage, higher risk. So the idea is that if you track your experiences and focus your target list around really targeting the mandate match, the alignment that we just talked about, it'll just help you to be really thoughtful about when you do launch your capital campaign or your capital raise, that you focus on the right priorities first, and that you know absolutely that you're not spending the time and energy on an investor that doesn't have good alignment with you. So once you have your target list, let's go ahead to the next slide. And this is something that you'll continuously build. But when you're thinking about this in a campaign sort of lens, what you want to do is have all of your preparations ready before you launch. So you should definitely have a strong priority list. It will always continue to grow, but you're going to have a strong priority list before you hit go on that actual step to go ahead and seek out meetings. So once you have some targets in your list, you might have learned about them at conferences or other ways, you want to make sure that you're turning on all of your networking skills to build out that list. So we've been exercising some of those skills here today and asking each other, and we'll continue to have that dialogue in this group about what investors might be a good mandate alignment for each of your businesses. But you can also leverage tactics like LinkedIn. I mean, going on LinkedIn and search impact investing and just look at exactly who is in your network, who is 2 clicks away, what funds do you identify through that pattern of connection to yourself that then fit your mandate and add them to your priority list. You can research awards competitions that fit your space. So automatically you've narrowed it down to some aspect of a mandate alignment. And then you can look at year over year and see what funds are participating, who's judging those competitions, who's sponsoring those competitions. And that can be a great way to build out, finding new contacts, finding new investors and fund managers. Centers of influence. So you can look at transaction law firms that are working in your geography. You can look at VC networks, angel networks, conferences. And these kinds of groups are just going to, give you an easy way to find lists that are already created and just unearth those contacts that you don't already know about. Really what you want to do, just like when you're going to market with a product, you want to prioritize the best potential customer, but at the same time, you want to be broad as well. So you're looking to make mandate alignment, but you want your target list to be long. So you want to grow that list through your network, through your research, and through tracking it as you move through all of your preparation stages. And then, of course, when it comes time to hit go, you'll want to go ahead and use your networks to access those meetings. And again, returning to LinkedIn, such a powerful tool that we have these days. It makes it incredibly easier to access people that you don't know that know somebody that you already know. And then making your goal clear to your community. When it comes time to hit go, you want to kind of have all of these elements in hand. And I'm thinking again of a Gantt chart in my mind. And I didn't make a Gantt chart for you today, but it is a good way to think about it. You begin by thinking through the mandate, you then build out the target list, you then fill out the target list with more and more contacts that fit the mandate. And then you're going to want to click to the next slide. You're going to want to leverage your team. Ian, can you click to the next slide? You're going to want to leverage your team in the sense of when it comes to the preparation to launch your campaign, you're basically asking people for meetings. And the way that we ask people through meetings is through email and occasionally through LinkedIn. Typically, if it's through LinkedIn, you need to get to an email as well to get sort of a longer writing format where you can also provide attachments. And so it's important how you craft that email and the attachments you provide along with it. You want to plan that ahead, not just do it one-off, but plan it, create something that you really feel it puts your best foot forward. And then when you're going to go ahead with your campaign, you have your priority list, and you may even divide up the work, divide and conquer with your co-founders or your team to make sure that you're getting that message out and trying to cover as many of your priorities as possible. Particularly if you do go ahead and use that deadline strategy I mentioned before. If you're using the deadline strategy, you really have to have the campaign well prepared. You need to hit go all at once and do the outreach to all of your priority contacts and try to get those meetings. The idea of the urgency deadline would also be that you communicate that to the investors, that you're doing a capital raise, you plan to raise the capital by the end of Q2, and then communicate with them as you go. When you're setting the meeting, you want to, or during, when you have the discussion with them, you might want to mention if you have other meetings, if you have other offers that are already in discussion, and that is part of the advantage of having a deadline as well. So I want to circle back really quickly one more time to the tracking. So as you use your target list to do your campaign, you want to actually track your activity. So it might sound like a little, you would think, oh, this is an important email. These are really important to me. I'm never gonna, lose track of the last thing that I said to this investor or that investor. But you'd be surprised if you really do this with the kind of push that I'm talking about, where you're really going to market aggressively and all at once to your targeted audience. What you're going to want to do is actually take note of when you send an email. You want to take note of any last notes that you have about the exchange. Did they say reach out again in a month? Did they say, contact this other fund, this other friend? And then also note your attachments. So by that, I mean, you're going to potentially end up changing your pitch deck as you go, and you want to get it to the best place that you can before you launch. But you're going to also find that feedback happens, the way that it flows feels like it needs a little bit of an update. So you want to note what version of your attachments you're sending out as you do this, because tracking your activities is going to give you an advantage in making sure you don't drop the ball, in making sure that you're staying on top of every follow-up that you need to do. Because, if you're operating this like you're closing a deal, it's closing a sale, you need to be really vigilant about staying on top of investors, showing them how on top of it you are by following up on every detail and never being behind on response to emails and whatnot. So that's kind of the overview on running your investment strategy as a campaign. And now we're going to move forward into the investment ask. So these elements are what you need to have in place before you go ahead and press the market in the way I've been describing. And so Ian is going to walk us through how we get ready and what we bring along.
Okay, So I think we all know about pitch decks, but we will touch on those real quickly. Crafting your ask, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on how to use your financial model to determine how much money you need. But we're also going to talk about, how do you present that? What's the best way to go about that? Then talk a little bit about negotiation, because ultimately a lot of this is a negotiation. There is no clear, defined way to do this. It is negotiation. So there are some parameters that we can kind of set to think about how to go about it. We'll discuss some returns and IRR, and I'll even do some, show some of the math behind that. And ultimately kind of try to drive home the point that these investors will be doing their own underwriting. And in order to be good at negotiating, you should do your own underwriting as well, so that you can be there at the table talking through the different options that are in front of you and have an idea of what they're looking at as far as the returns. So first, let's just talk about pitch deck. Don't be through all this. I think we understand pitch decks pretty well at this point. What I think what makes a good pitch deck. This is just kind of your standard outline. You all have great pitch decks already. I know that there's ways that there might be to improve it. But ultimately, I just wanted to focus on the fundraising part. So let's talk about your fundraising slides. What do you show? So we talked a little bit yesterday about your financial projections, and that's a critical piece. It really tells your story with numbers and shows not only you've talked about your company and really kind of had a great story about trying to do, but if you can financials with some series of projections behind what you're talking about, it really kind of drives home the point of what you're capable of, what you think you can accomplish, and shows the real thinking behind it. Then combined with that, you want to show really what is your ask, how much money do you need? And we talked a little bit about that yesterday on how to estimate how much you need and use those stress tests and looking at your risks to determine, okay, best case or excuse me, the most likely case scenario, this is how much I need. But if things go awry, or if I need some buffer, here's what maybe the additional money I need. So you want to also include your investment ask, and then what are you going to spend it on? So these are kind of as I see at a high level, the key pieces you want to include in your pitch decks when you're talking about raising investment. Now, of course, we use pitch decks for lots of different things. So you may choose sometimes to not include these if you're not talking to investors. But when we're talking about pitch decks for investors, I think that these are the critical pieces. Now you'll notice that there's an additional component when we talk about investment that is not shown here, and that is the percentage of the company equity that this investor is purchasing. Going back to the negotiation piece is where is why we've left that out here. And I don't think that in my perspective, I think you want to have that be a discussion rather than including it in your pitch decks. You really want to show, here's my projections, here's what I need to do it, here's what my budget looks like. And then you can talk about, equity pieces. But real quick, just some tips on pitch deck. I say this a lot, less is more. The more concise you can be, the better. The goal is not to tell all the information. It's really to pique the interest. You just can't do it all in one deck. And frankly, if you try to do it all in one deck, you're most likely not going to be successful. So keep it concise. If you ever get a chance, Google Airbnb's pitch deck. It's like so simple and straight to the point. It's fantastic, and it's really about less is more. Think about having different versions. Like I said before, sometimes you'll have investors, or you'll have different audiences, but you'll really have your kind of live presentation, and that gives you the ability to have a visual that people will look at, but it's more about the pitch that you're giving rather than the presentation on the slides. You can also have a teaser deck. Maybe this is a way to reach out to folks to investors to give them an idea of what you're talking about, but you don't want to give them all the information. And then maybe you'll have a more detailed one that really is like, okay, now the investor is asking for more information. Here's all the detail. Here's something on their own. Know your audience. Again, you have different reasons that you'll use your pitch decks, and try to customize them to who you're talking to. Just like if you've ever applied for a job, you customize that cover letter, you customize that resume. It makes an imprint if you can make some customizations that apply to the audience that you're talking to. Make sure that you're, again, leading down the path, telling that story. I know that there's going to be some other master classes about telling your story, but make sure that your pitch deck is going to kind of follow a line that is easy to follow and really gets me to the point on each slide that you're trying to make. As someone that's looking at your pitch deck, I shouldn't have to search for what the point of that one slide is. If you put too much information, it's hard for me to find. And along those lines, try to be consistent with the visuals. Things like keeping the fonts the same, the text sizes the same, the colors, the branding. Once I'm oriented to your pitch deck, it makes it a lot easier for me to find what you're trying to tell me if I don't have to now new slide, different colors, different size fonts. It makes it harder to follow along. So those are just some high level tips. In our mentoring calls, I'm happy to get into more of the feedback on the ones that you have. Okay, so jumping back into the kind of the investment ask, and we're going to get into a little bit more on negotiation and some of the calculations that you can do. I get this question a lot: how much should I be giving in this round? And the answer is, I don't know. This is a kind of a great rule of thumb. You all might be familiar with Y Combinator, maybe the most famous accelerator in the world out of Silicon Valley. I think if you can give up 10%, that's fantastic. Most likely it's 20, but if you should try to avoid going over 25% of your company in a fundraising round. And that is really because you might need to raise capital later on. And if you've given up too much, it'll be harder to raise more capital, as well as a founder, you want to keep control of your company. So again, there's no perfect way to figure out exactly how much equity you should give up in a round. This is kind of just a rule of thumb to think through. So negotiation, this is a kind of and I'll just explain the slide, but this is a way to think through how negotiating works. Here on the left side, you have kind of your entrepreneurial point of view, and on the right is your investor point of view. And then of course in the middle is the zone of a potential agreement. And the thinking here is that there is the perfect deal for the entrepreneur and there's the perfect deal for the investor, but most likely those things don't line up. And so when you're talking about negotiating, it's really about figuring out at what point do your terms line up that meet in an area that is acceptable for both parties, right? And so you want to really kind of think through at what point do I walk away from the table? If you get to the point where you are negotiating with an investor, you want to be able to know, okay, if they want to ask for, just kind of using the dilution argument from before, if they're asking for 30%, maybe I need to be able to walk away. So this is just kind of a way to think about, all right, I'm really trying to kind of hit this zone of agreement. And a lot of this has a lot to do with that mandate alignment. So if you can align mandates and then also get to a place where the terms are acceptable, the investor isn't asking for too much, it's an acceptable agreement for you, then that's when you're hitting a good spot in a negotiation. But make sure that you know what you're willing to walk away with. It will make you a stronger negotiator. So negotiation, though, is art and science. And and this is kind of a word diagram to just say, like, everybody's got their own style. There's lots of ways to approach it. There's lots of different things to negotiate on. What I would like to focus on here is about doing your own underwriting, because ultimately you want to know when kind of some of the levers get changed in your investment model, what that means for your company, but really what does that mean for the investor's investment. It'll be a powerful thing for you if you know, okay, if these things adjust, what does that mean for potential investment? And I'll show you what I mean here. So there's kind of two high level metrics to look at in investment. Of course, ROI, it's a pretty simple approach in math. I think we all know what ROI is as far as the percent return on your investment. And that's represented here. The little bit more complicated one is internal rate of return. IRR is a hard thing to grasp sometimes, and ultimately it's really about kind of an annual rate of growth for an investment. And the thing is that with an investment's made in year zero, or initially made, and then a period of time goes before they receive capital back. And potentially maybe there's some cash flow in the interim, but a lot of times with these types of investments, there's zero cash flow until the end, when there's maybe an exit, maybe they get bought out. On the left here is the formula for IRR. Thankfully, in this day and age, we have Excel, and all you have to do is type in equals IRR and select the values you want to use, and Excel will do the rest. I had a professor in business school that talked about he used to do his own Excel sheets by hand with a calculator, and every time an assumption would change, he'd have to bring out the eraser and redo everything and do it with his calculator. It sounded crazy. I'm just so thankful for Excel. So moving on. So let's go back to the example company that I showed yesterday. You've done your financial modeling, you understand your projected cash flows, and ultimately you've come to what the model is telling you is roughly in this base case scenario, you need 160K. And let's say that you want to add a buffer to that to make sure that you can cover anything that, pricing that you need to discounts or something that you need to implement, or maybe some costs go up and so forth. So let's look at how you might underwrite an investment in your business so that you have a better understanding of what it looks like from an investor's perspective. So this is a kind of high-level, simple investment analysis that looks at ROI and IRR. So I'll just kind of slowly walk through it. It's pretty simple math, but again, building off of that financial model that we built yesterday, this will help you, again, give you perspective when the investor is looking at your company. So first step is to look at the post-money valuation. Like I said, you need 160K, but you want a buffer. So let's say that you have a initial investment of 200K. If you let's say accept 20% equity as your investment, this would mean that once you receive that capital, the valuation of your company is $1 million, right? And I think it's pretty simple math. 20% of $1 million is 200. So that's how we got there, right? So that's where the valuation of your company after you've received investment. Now, let's say that you want to look at what the return on investment is in year 3. One concept to keep in mind is that investments are for future cash flow. It's not what's happened in the past, it's what potentially could come in the future. So when you're looking at what's your company worth in year 3, you actually have to look forward and then make a valuation based off of that. So in this instance, if in year 3, you look at year 4 cash flows. So in this instance, it's roughly 273,000 is your future cash flow in year 4. Then there's lots of ways to do valuation. In this instance, we're doing a very kind of simple approach, which is just a multiple. In this instance, it's a 10x multiple on the future cash flow. There's lots of ways to look at what this multiple should be, and I would recommend doing lots of research on this and trying to think through what this might be for your company. Lots of things can change what this number would be. The risk level, so how early stage is your company? The type of industry that you're in. A lot of industries will have kind of set parameters that a lot of investors are looking at. You could also look at the stage of your company, and even things like margins and these types of things can affect what your multiple is. If you look at like the US stock market, growth stocks are somewhere in the 15x multiple, whereas the Apples of the world are at like a 40x. So there's quite a range. Here we're just going to use a 10x, right? So if you take the year 4 cash flow and apply a 10x, that would mean that your company is worth roughly $2.7 million at the end of year 3. Now, your investor owns 20% of your company, so they own 20% of this valuation, which would mean that their investment is now valued at $546,000 and change, right? Again, simple math, just 20% of the valuation for that year. And so you apply that ROI math that I showed earlier, which is roughly just basically the difference between what their investment was and what it's worth now, and the cost of that, and we get a 173% ROI. Pretty good ROI for this example. So moving on to IRR. IRR is about annual cash flow. It's about a return over time. So you have to put this into a time series. And in this instance, we've done it in an annual time series, as you can see here. And it's about inflows and outflows of cash, right? And so in year 0, or basically in your initial investment, they put in $200,000. So for them, that's a negative, right? They put money out. It's a negative for them. So they put out $200,000 at the beginning. 3 years later, at the end of year 3, and using this investment valuation up here, and this is basically saying, okay, let's just assume that there was a sale or the investor wanted to exit. Maybe you brought in another investment that valued your company at this amount and is going to buy out your investor. This is really just kind of a hypothetical. Well, let's say in year 3, there was an exit for your investor and he got back his investment. So for 20%, he then returned $546,000 roughly. Now, again, back to this kind of the beauty of Excel, you can just use that simple IRR formula over this time period, over the full period here, and what we end up with is a 40% IRR. Now, these are fantastic investment return numbers. So, you'll have investors that will accept less than this. Don't think that you have to hit 40. I think in general, like Silicon Valley VCs, their benchmark is a 30% IRR. And that's really because they expect, only 1 out of their 10 investments to be very successful. So they need to hit a high IRR for that one company. But that's not to say that all the investors that you talk to are looking for that. And like I said before, it really has to do with your industry, has to do with the type of business that you have. Is it B2C? Is it B2B? Lots of different parameters. And what I would recommend is do your own research. You really have to dive in and understand this. And that will put you in the best position to not only do this type of underwriting so that you're in a good position when negotiating, but it also put you in a great place to understand where your investors are coming from and be able to really try to find that alignment. So this is kind of the culmination of this kind of financial underwriting and modeling that we've been going through the last couple of days. I know that there are some questions that you all have on how this to work this with your own models and so forth. So I'm happy in the mentor calls to go over that in more depth with you. I know that we've done that. I've done that with a couple of the companies already. So feel free to reach out with questions. Feel free to think through some of this stuff, and we can discuss more in the mentor calls. So I think that concludes crafting your ask, and we're going to go into a breakout session. Lisa, do you want to describe this?
Yeah, I think, it's true that it might be better to hold off on ROI, IRR questions for one-on-one, but I think we could pause and just see if anybody has any questions. I know we're covering a lot really quickly, just trying to be respectful of everybody's time and give you a lot to chew on. So if anybody does want to jump in with a quick question, we could do that. Is that right, Kath, or are we too far over to? Okay. If anybody wants to ask a question now, we can do that. And then we have just a quick discussion for you to do with each other as well. Okay. Well, I will just set up for the breakout session.
I had one question. This is Meera.
Go ahead, Meera.
Yeah. Ian, do you suggest startups, get into the discussion on IRR and returns and such, or just understand it on investor expectation when it comes to valuation and what they look for?
What do you mean by the discussion? Do you mean with the investors?
In the deck or right early on?
No, okay, that's a good question. No, I don't recommend putting this in your deck. The investors are going to do their own underwriting. This is more something to do behind the scenes to really set you up for understanding what your company might look like to an investor. You can discuss this kind of stuff. I don't think it's a bad idea to, if you're, get into a discussion of what they're looking for. You could say, well, I think I could hit, an IRR of X, or we're looking at an ROI of X over the next 3 years. I think it's okay to have these types of discussions, but I would not recommend putting it in your pitch deck.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Ian. I have a comment or a question here. You put the valuation 1 million. I think I speak for many of us here as social entrepreneurs. This is always something quite difficult to put the finger on. We've all of us here put in a tremendous amount of sweat equity, right? Yeah. Plus, we're coming in from the angle of, having innovative or even patentable technology. So it's always kind of difficult for us to really nail down what that value actually should be. And it becomes sometimes, an issue of contention with investors. They don't see what we see. They don't have kind of appreciation of the situation. Yeah. So we end up sounding like a bunch of spin doctors sometimes. Yeah. But that's things that we have to deal with, right? So I don't know if you have any advice on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hear you, Tim, and it's tough, especially when you're talking about selling a piece of your baby, basically. All I can offer is that from the investor's perspective, what they're trying to do is manage risk. A lot of times it's not their money. Maybe sometimes when you're talking with angel investors, it's their money, but ultimately they're managing other folks' money. Could be a fund, could be private, high net worth individuals. And so ultimately, they're looking at this as a risk investment. And so I don't have a perfect answer for you. I just think that it's about trying to find that alignment, and that's why we've kind of harped on that a lot. I think that investors, they appreciate what you've done, and they wouldn't be talking to you if they didn't. I think things like patents and the potential, all the sweat that you've put in is super valuable. But as far as putting dollar terms around it, sometimes it's really kind of hard to do. And ultimately, they have to be able to go back to the people that they're managing their capital, and convince them to move forward. And so it's a difficult thing to really get to being able to agree on what the valuation is. I think that's why all of this kind of financial modeling is really around trying to prepare you guys for how to have those discussions, because ultimately an investor is going to want the numbers to back what the valuations are. There things like that don't necessarily have clear financial value behind them are hard for them to be able to not only support in their own underwriting, but like I said, go back to their investment group and defend why they want to make an investment. So I think the more that you can really show the value that you bring, and try to translate that into projected numbers, will give you a better ability to make those arguments. And that's again why I've really been trying to not only tell your story with your company and your pitch, but also try to translate that into numbers so that you can defend why you think your company is worth what it is.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Just another note. Also, the other thing that many of us offer here is on environmental sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's ways to calculate the the carbon index, carbon capture, and things like that. So yeah, if we can somehow have a logical way of doing it, or a simple way of doing it, I think it would be very helpful as well.
Yeah, and I'm not a carbon expert on how to model those things. We know some people that have a better understanding, and be happy to connect you with them. But I think that's what's fantastic about the impact investment kind of arena, and how much it's growing, because there are impact investors that are still very much focused on the return numbers, but there are some that will take concessions and take lower returns in exchange for the type of impact that your companies are bringing. So that's why it's really critical to really kind of find out what those mandates are, because there are folks out there that, I gave that example of Silicon Valley wanting 30% IRR. There are impact investors out there that will take a lower IRR in exchange for hitting impact numbers, and whether that's carbon, or households affected, or clean water. There's lots of them out there, and so doing your research and trying to find those that align with what the impact you're bringing is an area where you might be able to have some lower IRR or better valuation numbers that you want to hit. in exchange for the types of return or impact that you're bringing.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian.
Yep.
Okay, well, with that, let's go ahead and break into our breakout session. So thinking back on everything that we've covered the past couple days around investment journey, and especially today, talking about investment strategy and crafting your ask, and really how you take that capital raise as a campaign to the marketplace. I'd like you to identify a couple of tactical action items that you're going to commit to accomplishing over the next couple weeks. So that might be a small thing. It might be, attending a investor webinar so that you can gather some targets for your list. It might be, researching the multiple that might be right for your business valuation. It might be any of the things that you've seen in our presentation the past couple of days, or it might be something that is springing up in your own mind. So what I'd like you to do is just spend 5 minutes, 2 and 2, and just share a couple of action items that you're going to make that commitment to whoever you're talking to in the group, and we'll go ahead and check back in a couple of weeks and see if everybody's accomplished their action items. So make them real things that you can get done. Kath, can you set up the breakouts?
All right.
Sure.
Here, I got it. Opening rooms now. So
Thanks,
you should receive a prompt. Sure.
Yeah, so Mickey has also put the instructions in the chat box so you can look back when you're in your breakout rooms. So we'll probably just give, Lisa, is 5 minutes enough for this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Ooh, breakneck speed.
Covered a lot there.
Yeah, that was great, Ian. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Hope they weren't too overwhelmed by the formulas.
I think some of them might have been, but it's okay. At least they get the concept, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, the IRR is supposed to be a joke, but I guess it's a nerd joke. Yeah, it is quite easy in Excel, and I'm happy to help people with that.
Ooh, so let's see, how much time is there left? Are you still going to do a round of elevator pitches, or how are you planning to do that?
Yeah, Priya, I wanted to get your thoughts on that also.
We're running a little late, right?
Yeah, we are.
I think we should skip it because this should be enough then.
Yeah.
We can do it another time. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have that pitching session with Plot Wolf in
correct.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we can maybe practice with that also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's at 10 a.m. Manila time. So I think Lisa and Ian, you'd be able to join us for that also.
Oh, great. I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, us too.
So the startups are preparing their pitch decks now, or is there some homework like that?
So a lot of them have been preparing their pitch decks already, and most of them have actually been consulting with Ian during the mentorship calls on, sort of how to structure that, kind of pitching them to Ian also for, just sort of like a fresh set of eyes to look at the pitch deck. And then for the Plot Wolf session, we're still in coordination with them if there's any pre-work needed to be done for that. So we'll let the startups know also via email once we get, sort of the final details from Rajita and Neil.
Okay. Because that one does not get into the business aspects, right? It's more on the
storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rest of it will all be one-on-one, Mira. So looking through their financial projections, feedback on the pitch deck, working with them on calculating the valuation, all of that stuff. Investment ask, everything that Lisa and Ian kind of shared today that is needed, helping set up the data room, all of that stuff. And then, of course, then the investor introductions.
Right. Okay. So this combined with Neil's session will give the full rounded one, right? This gives the stuff that investors want to hear, that gives how they want to hear it, right? That story bit, right? The left brain, right brain, all balanced out.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. Kath, I sent a couple of updates for that slide of.
Okay, sorry, I just saw it now.
All right, I'll close the rooms.
Sure, thanks, Mickey.
Sure.
Okay, I think everyone's back.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for your great participation today. Again, I know that we covered a lot really quickly, but we're also available to you guys and you'll be having your follow-up calls with Ian. Of course, we're available via email for questions as well. And we look forward to checking in on your action items and continuing the conversation about your capital raise. So thank you again for your active participation. And I will back over to Kath.
Great. Thanks, Lisa and Ian, for really great 2 days on investment readiness. And we're really looking forward to kind of kicking off our one-on-one support on this aspect with all of you. So I know we only have a few minutes left for today's session. So I just wanted to go over a few reminders and next steps for us. So hold on, let me just pull up my presentation. Okay, so just a quick reminder that our catalytic funds are currently in process already. You've already received an email from Abby, I think last week, regarding the next steps and specific timelines, but I also just wanted to go over each of those today. So again, we would like for all of you to kind of just refine your milestones and focus on affordable housing, just strengthening that messaging in your 100-day plans, and submit the following documents to the Habitat for Humanity team. So you will be asked to send an invoice and 2 forms that we've also attached in the email last Friday. That's the new vendor form and the W-8 Bene form. And then signed agreements, which you've already sent over to us back in November and December. And then again, a reminder that all of the meal quarterlies surveys that have been sent out to you have to be answered and filled out. And lastly is your milestone plan, which again is your 100-day plans from your diagnostic panel. So for the documents, oops. Okay. So please make sure to have the following information in your invoice, a unique invoice number, and then please address it to Habitat for Humanity International Incorporated with this registered address. Again, you can also find this address in the PowerPoint that was sent to you via email. Please fill it up with your complete company name and address as well, which is the same way that you stated on the agreement that you had signed and sent back to us in December. Please also provide a description of your company as well as the goods and services that you offer. Make sure that your invoice has a date, and the amount of the catalytic fund should also be there. So in this case, that's 10,000 US dollars. We've attached the new vendor form in the email, so please make sure that you fill this up with all of the accurate information, particularly noting the SWIFT code for your bank. This will, kind of minimize the back and forth with you regarding your bank details. So please make sure to have the proper SWIFT code for your bank. We've also sent the W-8 Bene form. So that's also been attached in the email. And if you have any questions regarding this form, please email us. Lizanne is also copied in that email. As stipulated in your agreements for the ShelterTech Accelerator, you will be receiving quarterly surveys for you to fill out. I think Amanda, during our impact management masterclass, also went over these. So please make sure that all surveys are completed and submitted on time. We've had to follow up with some of you. We understand, you're very busy, and really appreciate the time that you took out to answer the surveys. I think at this point, everyone has submitted them. So thank you all, but please make sure to submit those on time next time for the next quarterly surveys. In terms of timeline for the catalytic fund, so today at 4:30 to 5:30 Manila time, Lizanne will be available for a call for anyone who has questions around the catalytic fund process. So the link to the call, it's a Microsoft Teams meeting, has also been sent to you via email. So by March 18, we hope to receive all of the necessary documents for the catalytic funds from all of you. And we anticipate that the disbursement and transfer of these funds will be in April. So as you all know, progress on your 100-day plans is ongoing. And really great to see all of the progress updates so far and how everyone else in the cohort can help you out with some of your milestones and to-dos. So that's it for the catalytic fund process. Again, I urge everyone who has any questions around the catalytic funds to jump on a call with Lizanne. So that's today, 4:30 p.m. Manila. All right, so I'll pass it on to Priya at this point to kind of go over what's next for you guys as we move into our ecosystem phase in the Accelerator.
Thanks, Kath, and thank you everybody for being present and being so engaged today and yesterday as well. Before I kind of explain this, I just want to acknowledge all of the wonderful women that really make up the ShelterTech team. So my team at Wilgrow, as you've been engaging with Kath, Abby, Mickey, Amina. On the ShelterTech side, Mira, Jennifer, Amanda, Julia, and of course, Lisa, from Global Urban Village. And we want to really kind of just also celebrate all of the women entrepreneurs and female team members that have joined us today. So just wanted to acknowledge that. The ShelterTech team is really all female, and we've really been a great group of women who are supporting each other. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out. And just wanted to say that, we're now shifting to kind of the next phase of our support, right? And this learning lab, I hope it wasn't too heavy, but we had to talk about the really important stuff and what's really on all your minds, right? Raising capital. And over the last 2 days, we really focused on fundamentals of financials, understanding your financial statements, really getting a grasp of it. We really want to empower each of you to be on top of your numbers. You don't have to always refer to your accountant or somebody, the finance person in your team to be talking about your numbers. We want you to be confident about it. And the investment readiness, 101 and the kickoff that Lisa and Ian so brilliantly gave us is really, to give you all of the fundamentals and the concepts and get you thinking about all of these questions that are really important. But as we move to the next few months, we are really going to focus on working with you one-on-one. As Wilgrow, we've made 350 plus investments directly into companies. We are very proud to say that our incubators have gone on to raise $76 million, most of that from impact investors and strategic investors. So we've been through this journey with all of our companies, all of our incubators, all the heartbreak, the pain, the frustration, but also the successes. So we'll be there with you. I know some of you may be a little bit ahead in your journey of raising money already, but we are here to support you on anything that you need. Specifically, how we'd like to kind of, use the next few months is focusing on some of these things that are up on the slide, right? And all of this will happen one-on-one. So some of you may already have your financial projections, the 5-year financial projections and your valuation, but we are happy to double check that, go over the assumptions with you, and we really want to, those of you who haven't started and maybe are still kind of confused about the raise process, we really want to think through that investment raise roadmap for you, your strategy, really taking all of the lessons from the sessions of these 2 days, really strengthening your investment ask, your utilization, and talking about this valuation that I kind of listened in on. All of these seem very complicated, but really it's your vision, your strategy. A lot of people have been through this journey, and there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from. And then the ShelterTech ecosystem is there to really support you to do this. So we'll provide a lot of this support one-on-one really to get you started, right? That includes pitching and storytelling masterclasses and practice pitches, feedback on your pitches, really preparing you, asking you the tough questions that you're going to get, right? And listening in on your answers, helping you craft how you can put it. All of those things we'll do with you, mostly one-on-one, and then some of the storytelling sessions will be workshops. But what happens once you start having those conversations, you need to really be prepared with all of your investor materials. We really encourage you to set up a data room so it makes it easier. And as you talk to like 10, 15, 20 investors, each person will keep asking you for documents. So there are hacks, there are shortcuts, there are things that we can already prepare for that will help make this process a little less frustrating and challenging, and really be efficient on your time. And then, of course, the last piece is that we will be doing a lot of investor introductions, based on your region. So for some of you, this has already started, but we've dedicated the next 3 months to do that, depending on what kind of capital you need, right? Not all of you need equity. Some of you may need debt. Some of you may still need grants, whatever it is that capital that you need. We'll be there with you to help you navigate the process, but also be there even if you have to, negotiate a term sheet. We'll be there with you to kind of soundboard the thoughts that you have. So the next phase is really going to be focused on investment readiness support. That is really one-on-one. Some of you, those of you who are ahead, you don't need to wait for us to set this up. Anytime you have a question, anytime you have an investor meeting, if you want, us to just listen to your pitch, practice, please do message us. We'll be there to support you through that. You want to jump to the next slide, Kat? So talking about that very specific linkages to investors, of course, there are a lot of things that are ongoing and organic, but we've set aside some very specific dates to do that. So we, as seen on the slide, we're really talking about having some investor dialogues. So these, prior to that, we'll have one-on-one meetings, but then we'll also have some gatherings with investors. And this will be kind of, focused on different geographies and kind of grouping together investors from those geographies and sector and, very specific investment mandates. We also know it's really important to continue to accelerate your growth. So we will be bringing together potential market partners. And we'll do this through ShelterTech symposiums. And as you'll see in May, we have two. One will be bringing together potential corporate partners, and one will be bringing together potential development sector partners, so private foundations, international agencies, etc. So the focus really is going to be access to investors and access to market partners in the next phase that we are going into. Of course, all of the business strategy support, you will continue to have the wonderful conversations with Ian and other mentors if needed, and continue to work on the milestones and the 100-day plan that we have. So that's what we've got in store for you for the next few months. All I can say is that, we are here and our success is helping you succeed. So we are 100% committed and invested in helping you succeed. So please reach out. No question is too big or too small. We are here for you and we want to see you do well. So that's it from me. Kath, back to you. I don't know if you had any other announcements. I know that we're just over time, but I want to really thank everybody, all of the facilitators, Lisa, Ian, Greg, everybody else who participated, and the team for doing a great job, and for all of you for being present here with us.
Thanks so much, Priya. So I know that we're a little bit over time, but I just wanted to go over some quick reminders before we end. So again, mentorship calls with Ian are ongoing. So this would be your second mentorship call already. If you haven't yet, please get in touch with Abby to schedule them. I think we're doing quite a number of calls this week and the next. So, please, let us know how we can help you. Really happy to see all of your progress updates, and, we're ready to kind of dive deep into each one of those one-on-one on these mentorship calls. Another reminder that I want to send is that our partners at Hilti have assigned mentors for each of you as well. And so the mentorship with them will kick off next week. So they've identified dates and times, which we will get back to you on individually. So please look out for an email from us regarding coordination for those mentorship calls as well. If you haven't yet, again, please spare a few minutes of your time to answer the following surveys. So we have the ShelterTech quarterly survey, which I think at this point, everyone has answered already. We also have a survey from Autodesk. And again, this is really to get a sense of what your needs are in terms of technology. They've been very gracious and generous to provide some of their software licenses for free or at heavy discounts. And we'll have, sort of like a tech session with an Autodesk provider next week. Another survey we have is the DAO survey. So you've heard from Logan yesterday about, all the wonderful things that DAO does and how they can support you in your journey as an affordable housing startup. We also have a feedback form. Oops, sorry, I forgot to include the link there, but I think it should be in the chat box fairly soon. And we'll also send this over in the email. Please let us know how we can continue to design our sessions for you. Any feedback is a gift, so please do answer this feedback form that we'll send over email, Mighty Networks, and Telegram. And that's it for today. Thank you again for being so present with us over the last 2 days for our second learning lab, and hope that everybody enjoyed. So as usual, before we end, I'd like everyone to turn on their cameras for a quick photo. before we end and break for lunch. All right. Tim, I understand your camera is not working today, so we'll try to do some Photoshop magic there.
Thank you, Ken. Sorry about that.
All right. Smile, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you, everyone. And please, stay safe, be in touch over email.